Welcome to the KellFire Show. I am Dr. Kelly Barron, and with me again, because she was so gracious to come back, is Miss Kate Galli. And today, Kate, who is an expert in vegan and vegetarian coaching in terms of health and nutrition, she is here today to impart some of her wisdom and her journey and how you can either adopt this into your lifestyle or expand on it if you already are. So, Kate, welcome back again. And I know we already know a little bit about you, but if you want to just start off with a little bit about your journey in vegetarianism leading into veganism.
Callie, thank you so much for having me back. This is very exciting, and we are talking about something so close to my heart today. And to travel back briefly, I was that typical child, that little girl that loved animals and ate animals, until a conversation when I was about 16 with a girl from school. And I learned that to eat animals, they need to die. Can't believe I didn't know that. And so I became vegetarian at 16. And I will say I didn't do it healthily from the get go. I was all about the foods I was eliminating, everything that I was not going to eat. I very much wasn't about the abundance and diversity and health giving foods that I now eat and now promote to my clients. Anyway, fast forward, quite a few years. I became a personal trainer, as I shared last time, when I was 29. And at that point in time, I was a high protein, low carbohydrate personal trainer. That was what I advocated. I was still a vegetarian. I've got to share, at that point in time, maybe I had the results on the outside that I was looking for. My approach still wasn't very balanced. I'd eat up to 21 free range organic egg whites a day. I feel
Touch
her
one.
21,
Whoa.
horrific. And anyway, about a decade or so into my personal training career, I watched the documentary Cowspiracy. I learned that I'd been lied to, that we've all been lied to. If I was vegetarian for the animals, which was my only reason, like most people, I used to love the way animals taste. I was purely vegetarian for ethical reasons, that actually I needed to be vegan for the animals because animals were still dying for my food choices when I ate the dairy, when I ate the eggs. And so basically, I made that transition overnight. I went from veggie and I was that healthy yet somewhat freaky vegetarian personal trainer in the gym bro gym. They all thought I was a bit weird for not eating meat anyway. I rocked into the gym the next morning and I announced, guys, I'm going vegan. And I can remember one of the trainers going, well, goodbye, lean muscle mass. And, thankfully he was wrong. I had fears that maybe this lifestyle change would negatively impact my health and my strength and my body composition.
Right.
Obviously it didn't. But I guess that's the fast track from, little girl that loved animals and ate them to ethical vegetarian to the vegan lifestyle that I now live and love.
Can you, because I know there's quite a few people, can you just explain the difference between vegetarian and vegan?
Yeah,
So
of
we all,
course.
because I think people confuse them terribly.
I mean, people have their own interpretations, and I don't get tied up on all the exactings. But for me, vegetarian just meant I didn't eat meat, I didn't eat fish. I ate everything else. I ate honey and dairy and eggs and still wore leather and all of that. From a food point of view, vegan means zero animal products whatsoever. A vegan lifestyle also means that we don't pay for animals to be exploited in any way. We don't watch them for entertainment. We don't wear their skin or their fur or their wool on our bodies. So it's a lot more all encompassing. And
Hmm.
basically, that's because it doesn't come, for most of us, vegan means it doesn't come from, it's not really about the food. It's about the animal. It's about zero animal exploitation.
Okay. And then I'm glad that you cleared it up. And I know there's so many different variations, whether you eat fish, eggs, no eggs, whether you take veganism from just a diet standpoint to a lifestyle standpoint. So thank you for that. And what would you say, just to start getting into it, what are the biggest misconceptions about veganism? Am I saying that right? Veganism?
Yeah,
Am
you
I
totally
making
are.
a word up?
Yeah. We have a family friend who goes, she's a vegan, and he says it like as a bit of a joke. And so I always, sometimes I say it as well. I'm not a stickler. It's about the animals. It's about my heart. My misconceptions, my goodness me, I had so many. I had built a body that I was super confident in over a couple of decades in the gym. And I thought it was all about super high protein, and I thought animal protein was superior to plant protein. I was fearful of carbohydrates. So, my vegetarian personal trainer days, I avoided a lot of fruit. I certainly didn't eat any of the amazing proteins that are legumes. So, like your legumes and lentils and chickpeas. I didn't eat any of that because I was fearful of the carbohydrates. So, that was a
Right.
misconception of mine, that if we want to be super lean with good muscle, we must eat incredibly high protein. We must eat really low carbohydrate. Carbs are something to be fearful of. I had a huge misconception about soy. And, I thought the estrogen mimicking effects of soy,
Right.
so I'm talking tofu, edamame, tempeh, all those really great high quality fuels that I eat every single day now, I thought they would make my hips and thighs flabby. And I know men out there, some of them have been led to believe that they can give you man boobs, that it leads to
Right.
estrogen, extra fat storage in those estrogen sensitive areas. Again, just a huge myth. And the way I found this out, Kelly, is I did my due diligence. I made the decision to go vegan. I was fearful. I thought it might have some negative impacts, but I decided it was about more than just my vanity. And I looked on Instagram mainly, and I looked for athletes and body sculptors because I'm very gym based. I looked for those people that were rocking around in a fit, strong, healthy body, the type of body I wanted or wanted to maintain. And everyone online shares what they eat. And they'd share what they ate all day, every day. And I'd see that these individuals ate soy and they ate lots of lentils and lots of fruit. And primarily they ate whole foods. And we can get into that down the track because that is absolutely my approach. But they were rocking around in these bodies without the flabby thighs that I'd been led to believe that tofu would give me, and still all the muscle. And so they were just a few of the myths that I personally fell for.
What do you think are some of the key nutrients? Because when you eliminate a food group, if you will, or a source, what are the key nutrients that vegan or vegetarianism really need to focus on? I know we're going to say protein because that's a hard one to kind of get, depending on what level you want to be at. But what other nutrients do you think that we need to be mindful of? And of those, and I think you're going to kind of get into this in the whole food category, but of those, which ones do you think are important enough that we need to supplement, if any?
Yeah, amazing. And we'll start with the macronutrient that you mentioned, protein. That is a myth. I want to bust right through that myth for you right now because it is not hard to get following a vegan, certainly not vegetarian lifestyle. But it just takes a little bit of adjusting, right? So the difference with plant protein is that it's often going to come from multiple sources in one meal. It's not necessarily going to be the star of the meal, like one hunk of animal
Gotcha.
protein, right? It's often going to come from a variety of sources. And yes, it's a plant protein. However, it's going to have other macronutrients, primarily carbohydrates, in it as well. So a lentil is an amazing plant protein that you can throw into a curry or make all crispy and scatter over your salads or turn into burgers or whatever it may be. There's also carbohydrates and fiber in there, and that's not bad. That's only good. So, I mean, later in our conversation, I can maybe chat through my 5 easy ways to get your plant protein.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but maybe we won't touch on that just yet. I'll cover some of the important micronutrients. You've got your
Yes.
macros, that's your carbs, proteins, fats. Obviously, carbohydrates are super easy to get. I busted the myth. Protein is really easy to get as well. I touched on legumes, but there's also soy, there's also whole grains, there's also nuts and seeds, and many veggies have an amount of protein in them as well. And we've been misled so far as how much protein we need. I think it's really important. I advocate 15 to 20 grams of protein per meal and snack. And that is pretty easy to get from multiple sources. Moving on to some of those important micronutrients, iron is right up there. And it is absolutely true that heme iron, the iron that we get from animals, is more readily absorbed by the body than the plant iron is. However, it just means we need to eat a little bit more, and we need to be aware of absorption and what inhibits absorption, so alcohol and coffee, and what enables absorption, so vitamin C. So we do need to be a little bit more strategic there. However, as you noted, if we're eating whole food plant based, which just means one ingredient foods, they haven't been processed, they haven't had anything good like fiber taken out of them, and they haven't had anything bad like processed oils and salt and sugar added to them, they're whole plant foods. When we're eating a diverse range of those foods, we're probably going to eat our iron nutrient needs pretty well. If we don't, then that's something that we supplement with. And I'll tell you, many non-vegans and many non-vegetarians are still iron deficient as it is. So it's a problem that everyone needs to be aware of, not just vegans and
Exactly.
vegetarians. Yeah. Next on the list, I would say your omega-3s. Important for brain
Yes.
health. We know that we get them through fatty fish. I obviously don't eat that, or fish oil supplements, which, well, there's going to be a lot of bad press coming out about these soon. They've had an amazing marketing, push. However, myself personally, I get my omega-3s from where the fish get their omega-3s from, and that's the algae. I go direct to the source. So you eat the algae, or you have the algae-based supplements, or even better, you have the plant foods that also, the other plant foods like your hemp seeds and your walnuts and your linseeds, which have all those omega 3s. I've been talking for a lot. Do you want to butt in with anything, Kelly, or should I run through some more of
No,
the
I'm
Yeah,
fascinated. I want to hear your list of micronutrients. No, keep going.
amazing. Probably the next one is calcium, right?
Yes.
Milk does a body good. That's the marketing over here in Australia where I'm from, and absolutely we need calcium. Absolutely, we can get calcium from plants and so many sources. Again, diversity is key. Legumes are one of my go-to sources. So all the lentils and absolutely also tofu, really high in calcium, or all the soy products. Plant-based milks, if you pick them properly, they've been calcium fortified and they have at least as much calcium as what the cow's milk does. And they don't have any of the things that we're looking to avoid, which for me, the cow's milk does.
Right.
Some nuts, some seeds, leafy greens, other vegetables. So again, calcium, you need 1,000 milligrams a day, and that can add up pretty easily. And I will say, all these micronutrients that we're talking about, you don't need to calculate what you need every single day in every single meal all of the time forever. I got over diligent at the beginning because I probably had a point to prove, right? I knew everyone in the gym would be looking at what my body and energy did, and I didn't want to represent the lifestyle badly. I didn't want to become this stereotypical weak, skinny vegan. So I got super strategic, and I probably worked too hard on hitting every single micronutrient in every single meal. And you don't have to do that. You just need to learn once, hey, here are my favorite
Right.
calcium. It's not that hard.
Right.
The last one I'll touch on is B12, because that is the one
Yes. Huge.
probably that most people need to supplement with. I recommend supplementing with it just because you don't want to stuff around with it. It's really easy to do. Animals don't make B12 or have it in their bodies. It's more so in the way that they live, the dirt, the less hygiene. Like, this is how B12 naturally occurs. And some animals, a lot of animals, are actually, their feed is supplemented with B12. So it's not the
Oh,
animal meat that has it. It's not a micronutrient found in animal products. It's a micronutrient that we tend to miss out on in our overly sterilized worlds. And so I do supplement with that. However, many plant foods are now fortified with it. So you could get it like that. But because I don't eat that many processed plant foods, I tend to just supplement.
Yep, and that's good advice. I think some people get nervous to supplement, and that they think, you have one side of the world that thinks supplement because I don't want to eat this or I don't want to eat that, so I'll get it all in my supplements. And then you have the other, crowd that says I don't want to supplement, I want to try to get it, and there just needs to be a happy medium based on the food, the way the food is grown today. We just have to make some exceptions for supplementing where we need it.
We absolutely do, and that's whether we eat animals or not, right? As you hinted at, the soil quality is not what it used to be. And
Right.
so, probably most of us, unless we're growing our own food, we are going to need to supplement if we want to have like absolute optimal health. And I find this funny that people have they'll have a lifestyle induced chronic disease and be on medication, often many medications for the
Right.
rest of their life. And they will do that. However, popping a little B12 pill, that's bad. Like that breaks my brain a little bit.
uh, I agree. I It's just such a myth. It's just taking a little bit of accountability, a
Yeah.
little bit of research, because you could go on Google and you could find all these different things. You'll be down 7 rabbit holes by the time you're done. But just taking a little accountability for your own health, and doing research, and reaching out to professionals and saying, like, how do I set this up properly? What are the key things that I can take? It's very easy nowadays to go on Amazon. You've got your supplements in 2 days. It's so easy, and you've got your products that you need, like you talked about, which we can get into. Protein from soy and tempeh and things like that. What do you think about, because this is the big one, like Impossible Burger, or I don't know if you have that in, not Impossible Burger, but Impossible, and there's a couple others that are out there. What do you think about that?
I am super happy that they exist. However, I'm not their target market, never will be. So I'm happy they're there and they can be like the transitional food for the,
That's
probably,
excellent.
yeah, probably for the individual who, maybe they're not going plant based for their or trying more plant based for their health. Maybe they are doing it because they care about their environment. Maybe they are doing it because they care about the animals. They want to eat the
Right.
same foods, and this is a really good transitional food that tastes the same. It's easy to use. The technology is absolutely amazing. So far as your health, I would absolutely advocate moving towards the more whole food plant based. So the black bean and mushroom burger, whether you make it yourself, best case scenario, or even if you buy a good quality one from the supermarket, from a health point of view, I'm going to say that is a lot better. However, these fake meats and such, they have listened to feedback. They are getting healthier. They are reducing salt and saturated fat and even number of ingredients, and they are trying. And I'm super grateful to them for that. And there are also like mycoprotein is a type of mushroom derived protein that there are some other meat substitutes that actually are healthy and I would eat and will eat when they come to Australia, and I'm super excited for them. So I wouldn't put them all in the same category together. And as I said, huge gratitude for the businesses that are paving the way, because in the end, it means less animals eaten, and that's what I'm here for.
Well, and it provides choices.
A
And
hundred
like you said,
percent.
transitional.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah,
Sometimes it's really hard if
for
you're
sure.
doing it more for, like, you just found out you need to cut back on animal products, or, for the environment or animals. And not necessarily because you have an adversity or something, to just the actual taste
Yeah.
of animal protein. So it's nice to have those. But okay, you've got to backtrack. Micro protein from mushrooms?
Mycoprotein. So I think it's MYCO, and the Better Meat Co. Paul Shapiro's company is one at the forefront of this. He's California based, and it is a fermentation process. And I probably can't tell you too much more than that because of the technology that goes above my head a little bit. But basically, they have created like so many different cuts of animal meats and products out of these mushrooms that seriously have nothing good taken away and nothing bad added. It's just from, if I was looking at it from a purely health point of view, even if I didn't care about the fact that they were much better for the environment and obviously much better for the animals, from a health point of view, I would be demolishing these products when they became available to me. They look amazing. So again, the Better Meat Co. And I'm sure there are other groundbreaking
Right.
companies out there doing similar things, and good on them. Like, it's very exciting when really intelligent and really passionate people pave the way. And to tell you a little bit more about Paul Shapiro, just super briefly, he is the perfect example of someone in it for the animals who was initially an animal rights activist, bit angry, like I was and can be, and would do the kind of more extreme events that sometimes are looked upon badly by non vegans. Then he got into like political advocacy and trying to change policy. He thought that was the way forward. That didn't work. The third iteration of his career and his advocacy is creating alternative meat products because he has realized humans have a meat tooth, as he said. We love the taste of meat,
It's true.
right?
We do have a meat tooth.
So if we're in it for the animals, the protest didn't work, the policy change didn't work. Hey, how about I just provide an amazing product that tastes exactly the same, and I think that's going to work, and it is.
I would be, wouldn't it be crazy the day that you could, like in America, in the US, barbecue places are everywhere. And, people just get excited to go eat meat and get meat sweats. And wouldn't it be crazy to have a place that was done like that with alternatives that were, comparable, if not better? That would be wild. That would be really wild.
There are some. They're just not prolific yet. There are some. And I will say to any of our listeners, if you've ever had any sort of a really average vegan product, be it a cheese, a meat, a barbecue, whatever it is, don't judge them all by that one bad experience because they are getting so much better so far as taste and texture and how the meat alternatives behave when they're being grilled and barbecued. And give them another
Right.
go if you've had a bad experience because there are some fabulous options out there now.
Well, you touched on that you were going to talk about Whole Foods and that sort of thing. Do you want to jump into that?
Let's go there, definitely. So, because there are two distinctions, I guess, between those of us that don't really eat animals. There's the vegan who might be come from an animal rights activist background, as I had. And I will say, you can be an unhealthy vegan. I could live on vegan burgers and hot chips and Oreos and be a really unhealthy vegan. Or I could go a more plant based, whole food plant based route where I still avoid the animal products, but I focus on whole plant foods. So my fruits, my veggies, my nuts and seeds and legumes and all of that, herbs and spices. And again, the fact that nothing bad has been added, nothing good has been taken away, they're in their whole plant form. And yeah, they're mixed. I used to get confused like, so only one ingredient per meal? No, you mix all these whole plant foods together. I make my vegan
Right.
burgers out of, chickpeas and sweet potatoes and mushrooms, and then I add all the herbs and seeds to bind them together, and you learn how to do it. And again, it's just a way of eating that has high nutrient density. So those micronutrients I talked about, you're getting a lot of them often, certainly compared to eating animal products. Most of these foods, apart from some of the fats, have a much lower caloric density. So,
Hmm.
happy benefit to me. I just get to eat really huge, colorful, abundant meals and feel satisfied because low caloric density, but lots of delicious food. I will say as well, with the plant based, I eat such a greater diversity of foods than what I used to. When I was a child and I still ate animals, like basically, chicken was my favorite meat, loved chicken and steak,
Hmm.
a couple of meats, hated fish, didn't know what a lentil was. Even when I was vegetarian, like not many options. I stuck to what worked for me on the outside. It wasn't working in my heart, probably. All those egg whites and fake processed protein powder. Now, as a vegan, I eat like 6 different types of lentils or legumes every single week, all the different nuts and seeds, all the different fruits and veggies, much more diversity.
One question I get all the time, besides how do I get enough, how do I get protein, which you've cleared that up for us, so thank you, is this is my big one I get. Um, what do I eat for breakfast? Because we're so conditioned, at least here in the States, eggs and bacon and sausage and now they don't know what to, or your yogurts or things like that. So what is like some ideas or thoughts on breakfast?
So, with any meal, I would say start with the meals that just need a small tweak to become vegan. You don't want to make some mammoth event and make it as hard for yourself as possible when you are just starting. So, for example, maybe people have their toast for breakfast. Most toast is going to be much toast is going to be plant based anyway. You might just have it with some avocado and some hemp seeds for extra protein. Many cereals, certainly oats. I mean, oats are huge here in Australia, whether it's your porridge or your, rolled oats, however you have them. They're vegan. Just add some nuts and seeds and fruit and plant milk, calcium fortified plant milk, whichever one you love. They're all amazing. They've all got different benefits. Soy's got the most protein, almond tastes amazing but uses more water. Oats the creamiest. There's a billion other different types of plant milks. Once you get more advanced with it, I was the eggs girl. I thought eggs were the thing I was going to miss most, right? And then I discovered tofu scramble. And, my dear mum, who always hated tofu, she thought it was so bland and boring. The first tofu scramble I made for her served over crispy baked smashed potatoes. She was in love with tofu from that point in time. So it's just how you flavor those foods. So a tofu scramble, maybe a tiny little bit more work than an egg scramble, but you just make double the amount and you've got, leftovers for tomorrow. Like
That's true.
spicy black beans, spicy chickpeas, all of these can be breakfast foods. And then you mentioned yogurt, that is super easy. There are now good plant based yogurts. Again, they used to be disgusting. Some still are. Some are amazing. And some are like chock a block full of protein, calcium fortified, nothing bad in them. So just have a little hunt around your supermarket.
That, that's a great advice. It's like trial and error, but that's like with any food.
100%.
Um, so when people first transition, let's just say into vegetarianism, I know the big thing everybody starts to think is pasta. Pasta's the one thing I need to have in my pantry. But what would you say? What's the staples that you would suggest? If you had to build like a top five little staple, always buy these things.
Do you know, it's so funny you say pasta, just slight diversion, because before I went vegetarian, pasta was my favorite food. I loved it. And then 23 years vegetarian, pasta or gnocchi were the only foods ever available to me whenever I ate out at a restaurant. And often they were boring and bland. So now I barely eat pasta anymore because I overdid it. And so now talking the staples, I would say find the legumes or lentils that you most love. So early days vegan, I used to think you had to meal prep everything and it used to take ages, and I used to make this like lentil cauliflower curry and that was fantastic. However, it was a bit of effort. Whereas now I've discovered red lentils and they cook in like 12 minutes and whatever flavorings you like. They're so easy. You make a huge batch, you just have them sitting in the fridge and they're ready to scatter over a salad or whatever you might want to do. So, number one on my list, I'm going to say a lentil. I'm going to say an abundance of cruciferous veggies. So, those hearty
Yeah.
veggies with cancer fighting properties that your kale, your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, all of those, super high micronutrient value. And also, they're a little bit more satisfying and filling than you don't want to just have lettuce or leaves, right? That's the
Yeah, right.
stereotypical boring vegan meal. My goodness, I couldn't eat that. So substantial cruciferous veggies, couldn't pick my favorite. I need them all every day pretty much. Avocado, obviously you need good fats. I tend to not add too much extra oil, but I have a lot of whole food plant fats, more than I ever used to eat. I used to be scared of fat. I thought fat made me fat. Now I think fake makes you fat if you eat too much fake.
Oh.
So I don't add oil everywhere. However, I do have abundant avocado. Hemp seeds makes it to my list. If I had my top five,
Mhm.
hemp seeds are probably there because they're chocker full of omega 3s. They have more plant protein per gram than what beef does. So high value food that you can scatter over absolutely everything. What tofu? I would say tofu. Either tofu because it's so versatile. You can turn it
Right.
into a scramble. You can grate it and have it in those rice paper rolls, or more so, I make them crispy rice paper rolls. I just put them in the pan with a little bit of macadamia oil and make them all crispy. You can turn it
Ooh.
into burgers. You can marinate it, put it in the air fryer. Hot tip, if you freeze tofu, firm tofu, and defrost it, it gets a different texture and it sucks up the marinade once you defrost it. So much better.
Ooh. Didn't
Silken,
know that.
silk,
Hot tip,
hot
folks.
tip.
Hot
You know,
tip.
silken tofu, if you want like dessert for breakfast, we were talking breakfast, right? If you want a super high protein, super cheap, and fast breakfast, I just blend tofu into a mousse. Silken tofu, bit of
Ooh, that sounds
cacao,
good.
pinch of salt, pinch of bit of maple syrup. And if you have it, which I do, a plant protein powder that you love, I like a salted caramel, you blend that thing up, add it to some berries, and that is such a decadent high protein breakfast or dessert or snack. So there's some of my staples.
We touched on fruit. I know a lot of folks, a lot of women in particular, tend to shy away from fruit because they go fruit, sugar, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. Not to say you should eat a ton of fruit all day long, but I think when you were talking about, which I love, when you were saying, no, don't sit down and you have to have like a big bowl of spinach and one other thing, like get you, and again, going back, due diligence, what do you like, doing your research, what do these foods provide, micronutrients, and it's making these combo salads and things. It's not that hard, and using fruit in there too. I love to put fruit in a savory situation too, with nuts and things like that. um, is fruit a daily thing for you? Is it a once in a while food?
Oh, fruit's definitely daily for me. It's just what's seasonal and what's easy. Apples are easy for me. However, I think highest value in terms of bang for your buck, nutrient wise, berries. I would
Berries.
like a snack on frozen cherries. I'd have an abundance of berries if they were sitting there in the fridge. Mangoes, whatever you love most, whatever is seasonal, seasonal. I want to bust through that myth that you can overdo it on fruit. You really can't. Fruit's not the problem. I perpetuated that like low carb myth for many years, early days as a personal trainer, and I feel horrible for that. Embrace fruit. It is a quality food, and it's joyful, and your taste buds adapt to the point where when you're not having all the processed stuff, the sugars in fruit, they kind of give that sugar hit that we like, right?
Right.
And it's enough. You don't need the chocolate bars and all of that jazz. Just embrace your fruit.
Now, I've learned with condiments, when you're condiment crazy, when everything has to have a sauce or a ketchup or mayonnaise or this or that. And I went so long trying to have the least amount as humanly possible. And the flavor of food changes so much when you eat the food, when you're having a vegetable and you maybe a tiny bit of salt or pepper if that's really where you want to go. But even without that, your taste buds change, and they just, everything tastes better in my opinion when you don't cover it in these 5,000 things. Now I do a lot of spices and herbs and things like that because it enhances stuff. But um, that, and I had another question. Seasonal. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm a big fan of eating seasonally because the nutrients are at their highest when you have a fruit vegetable that's in season. Do you also feel that same way?
I absolutely do. And I think something that we're all so much more conscious of now is what's cost effective. And usually what's
Ah,
seasonal is cheapest. And I'm led by that like so many other people. So whatever's a great deal and seasonal, I'm going to go for that. And it forces you to try new foods, which I love. And I will say,
that's
maybe
true.
you hated a food as a child. Give it a go again, a decade or two or three on, and chances are our taste buds change and develop, and even more so, our ability to cook changes and develops. And, Brussels sprouts are one of my favorite vegetables now.
Oh,
And my God, I detested them as a child, right?
so good. So good.
100%. They were boiled to death and boring as a child. And now I make
Uh-huh.
them all crispy and delicious, and they are amazing.
They are. They're so good, and their nutrient profile is so good.
Yep,
I could eat Brussels sprouts all day long. All day long. That
absolutely.
and winter squashes. If I had to live with only like two categories or something, all the winter squashes and all the Brussels sprouts that you could give me.
There's so much
Super
goodness.
diet friendly too. Health benefits. If someone wants to adapt, we'll go with vegan. We'll stay in the vegan lane. If someone wants to adopt a vegan, we'll go diet. We'll just talk the diet part, not the lifestyle part. What are the main benefits over a traditional Western or carnivore type diet?
So when I speak vegan, just know that I'm pretty much going to be speaking whole food plant based. So I'm going to be speaking to a healthy vegan, not that burgers and hot fries
Right.
vegan, right? And so far as that, I mean, the research is now abundant that it is the one diet that's been proven to reverse and prevent many of our top chronic diseases, our top killers in developed countries. So I'm talking heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some forms of cancer. So, from those lifestyle related diseases that are killing us more than anything else is killing us, a whole food plant based. And I will say, if you're already sick or if you have, a strong family history, usually it's whole food plant based, low oil. They do emphasize that as well. So you can't just go super free on all the plant oils. That's not good. So far as body composition, I come from a personal training background. I would say the number one easiest way to lose fat and keep it off, if that is your goal for your health, for aesthetics, whatever it may be, a whole food plant based diet has such diversity and such quantity that you just do not feel like you're missing out. You can eat as much as you want and still lose weight. And I've interviewed dozens of people who are living examples of this on my podcast. And, it's been my experience as well. I was only looking to maintain my weight. I do remember from back in the vegetarian days, I would come home at Christmas and I'd just overindulge and I'd put on a few kilos in a weekend. And that genuinely does not happen anymore. I never feel deprived. I always eat what I want. 48 now, and my weight just doesn't fluctuate. So that is a really happy health benefit of never having to scrutinize. Can I get away with this? Is this good? Is this bad? Will this make me fat?
Right.
Never stressing about are my genes going to fit? All of that. So far as allergies and congestion, particularly with that whole food plant based vegan approach when you cut out the dairy products, I'm going to say it like we're not baby cows. This is the biggest myth that as humans, we need to eat the milk that another mother has made for her babies. We don't. With love,
Right.
think about it. Would you drink your cat's milk? Gross, a rat's milk. You
Ah.
just you just wouldn't, right? However, some certain classes of animals, a cow, a goat, now I've heard horses as well. Some animals were like, oh yeah, sweet, let's drink their milk. Let's not. And let's discover so far as your breathing, your sinus, skin conditions. Kelly, as a teenager, I had bad pimples and I was vegetarian and I drank a heap of cow's milk. And I know that had an impact. I cut out all fat, I cut out all chocolate. I thought chocolate gave you pimples.
Right.
I guzzled the cow's milk because calcium, And my skin was bad. And I've heard this from so many people decades on. We've learned the negative impact on our skin that consuming all that milk that is chock a block full of estrogen from another mother. She's kept pregnant all the time. That's the way she makes milk. Made pregnant,
Hmm.
has the baby taken away. We take the baby's milk, made pregnant again. So much estrogen floating around in that milk, which is not good for our own hormones, and our skin reacts badly. They're just a few of the benefits from a health point of view.
Oh, I remembered a question I wanted to ask you, and you touched on because you're a personal trainer, is what is your go-to, if you have one, post-workout? Because everybody, the big thing, everybody runs for their food timing and their post-workout. Do you do a post-workout? And if so, what does that look like from a vegan standpoint?
I no longer believe that you've got this really tight window that I used to believe. I used to believe
Neither
like
do I.
45 minutes, got to have that protein with
Yeah.
those like carbohydrates. I don't believe that now. I tend to have a protein shake while I'm training just because I love the taste of it. And usually I'm on the go and all of that. And I tend to come home from the gym and it's usually lunchtime. And so that is when I would have my lunch. And
Exactly.
any meal that I eat is going to have 15 to 20 grams of plant protein, and at lunchtime, that's probably going to come from a super quick marinated tofu. Like I literally marinate it as I'm making the salad, and it takes like 30 seconds to throw the marinade together. And there's also going to be a bit of protein in I make my own mayo, because vegan mayo is one of those foods that tastes amazing and is just chock a block full of processed oils and is not a quality food. So now I make my own, takes like 5 minutes, and that goes on my tofu salad.
Ha- well, okay, so what constitutes your vegan mayo? This is fascinating, actually.
Um, Huge credit to Plant You. She has a book called Scrappy Vegan, and her website is Plant You, and she's all about using up waste. So yeah, she's whole food, plant based, completely vegan. However, she's about not wasting. And so the primary ingredients besides soaked cashews in this vegan mayo is aquafaba, which is the juice from a can of chickpeas. Now, all of us good vegans just eat a ton of hummus a week, and most of us make our own. When we make our hummus, we strain out that liquid from that can, and that used to be waste. My first 8 years vegan, I would throw out all that aquafaba from the can of chickpeas. Now I save it and I use that for my vegan mayo. So it's aquafaba, cashews, Dijon mustard, maple syrup, a little bit of salt, some apple cider vinegar, and some lemon. And you blend that, and it's a delicious mayo with no added fat. It's got the whole food fat from the cashews, nothing else.
Now, totally in topic, but not just traditionally on the vegan. Soaking nuts has always been. I got soaking seeds, your legumes. I understand your beans and stuff like that, but I've never soaked the nuts because and then used them because I thought, oh, that's like a 10-hour, 200-hour process. I'm never going to get through it. What is that like?
I got a hack for you. So
I love hats. Hot tip, everybody.
I'm a fussy eater and a lazy cook, right? Super fussy, must love everything. I just pour boiling water over the things and let them sit for 30 minutes to an hour, you know?
You just blew my mind.
Yeah. So, you get home from the gym, you pour your boiling water over the cashews, and while you make your protein shake, and while I'm making my hummus from scratch, I just let those things sit. And in a little bit of time, I'm ready to make the mayo.
All right, thank you for taking away the daunting feeling I had about trying
It
that because
needs to be easy.
that's easy. Um, Top three tips for thriving on a vegan diet or a plant based. We'll call it whole food plant based diet.
Yeah, amazing. So the first one, I've probably touched on, I have touched on, but find those meals that just need a small tweak to become vegan. There's so, like, don't be daunted by the term. There are
Right.
so many meals you already eat, and they just need that little tweak. So don't start from scratch. Think of what you love and of what those tweaks might be, and know that you'll refine them over the period of time, so they don't need to be perfect from the get-go. Maybe some people, if my dad, for example, the anti-vegan, if he wanted to try like vegan tomorrow, I'd be cool with him having some sort of a transitional fake meat or burger just because that's easy for him. It's not my
Right.
go to, but I'm not going to start him on marinated tofu, that's or cauliflower steaks. That's too much of a step. Um, on that, I would say next up, those condiments that we've touched on, they can
Right.
transform a meal. So there are some that I just did not know about that are now absolute go tos. Stuff like a nutritional yeast, which is full of B12 and protein and really cheesy. And I use it to make my plant based cheeses, or I use it to make a plant based pesto,
Oh,
or like you just sprinkle it over a pasta. There are things like that, and your tahini, which is a great dressing just in its
yes.
on its own, your sriracha, whatever it may be, all these things that maybe you haven't tried before. And yeah, they're not necessarily a health food, but one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Michael Greger from nutritionfacts.org, he's got a green, orange, red light theory, where greens are the free foods that we just eat in abundance as much as we want, the legumes and fruits and veggies and whole grains and all of that. And orange are the slightly processed foods, so maybe they're the supermarket
Mhm.
bought vegan burgers, whatever. And red light foods, we're not meant to make a meal out of them. They're the kind of processed sauces and oils and all of that. However, we use them in moderation to help those green light foods go down while our taste buds are adjusting, right? So
That's excellent.
find some condiments you love and use them to make those meals seem indulgent and delicious, because they have to. If you're going to stick with it, you have to love them. Final tip, it's number one for me, but I think it should be shared in last place so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Whatever reason you're interested in giving this lifestyle a go, I would say it's really important to connect with your why and to find the mentors who are
Mhm.
living that lifestyle really, really well. Because any sort of lifestyle change, it doesn't matter how motivated you are in that first week or two, that motivation's going to wear thin, discipline's going to wear off. And so, personally, I would say connect with your why, build huge emotional intensity surrounding that why. That's going to drag you through the times when they go, oh, you're not eating my cauliflower cheese, or what's that rabbit food?
Right.
Well, all of that jazz that you will get. Find that why and find the mentors who are doing it really well, because the hardest thing about it, adopting a more plant-based lifestyle, the thing that I never anticipated and that everyone shares with me, it's not the food. The food's amazing. It's relationships with non-vegan loved ones or loved ones who aren't supportive. And that's the same with any big lifestyle change. It doesn't have to be plant-based. It might be any other big lifestyle change. Your relationships with loved ones who aren't yet supportive, that is the real challenge. And so you do need to find community, even if it's just online, so that you feel seen and understood and you have your people.
That is key advice.
Yeah.
And like you said, across the board for whatever it is that you're doing. If you, when you and I talked about this before, it's not our jobs to change someone's mind, and there's some people's mind we just can't
Mm-hmm.
change. So instead of letting it tarnish or destroy or hamper your relationship, go outside that and find your resources, your community, and people that do understand it. And don't give up your vision because it's not someone else's. Just find people who have that same vision or resources, just like you said.
100%.
So to close out, any resources, because that's a good one. Any resources that you think people should look towards, books? Obviously, your website is going to be a wealth. I'm gonna strong body green planet.
You got it. Very good.
Oh, so good. Besides your website, any other resources that you would recommend to anyone that, even if they're just thinking about going towards a more plant-based diet?
I'll share three. For my really sciencey friends, and you want the exacting details and studies and citations, and you've got this niggling one question or 1,000 questions, nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Michael Greger. He goes through all the research, and in fact, he has a team of researchers that read every nutrition study that ever comes out, and he does short little videos that a layperson that's non-sciencey
Wow.
like myself can understand. So whenever someone stumps me with but where do you get your such and such? I'll go straight to nutritionfacts.org.
Excellent.
Desiree Nielsen is a nutritionalist and dietitian. She's US based, and her website, she has a cookbook now too. I can give you the links, Kelly. Her website is an abundance of, yes, amazing recipes, some of my favorite, but she's also got amazing blog posts on, top 100 plant based sources of iron or whatever it may be. To go to one source when you're doing that initial due diligence up front, just to go, all right, here's a trusted source. She's getting it right, tastes good, and she's got all the right info. My third one, again, I said to connect with your why, and your why might change over time, and hopefully your why at some point will become for the animals at some point down the track. For that, Earthling Ed Winters, he's very easy to find online, and he has a video series, 30 Days, 30 Excuses, and it just talks through but plants feel pain, but the circle of life, but all the excuses that other people are going to throw at you and that maybe you've had yourself as well. He is just the most articulate communicator in a non-judgy, super calm manner. So Earthling Ed, 30 Days, 30 Excuses, highly recommend it.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for sharing those. I hope if, anybody can reach out and I can pass those on. We'll put it in the comments and captions so they can also access that and reach out to you as well. Kate, thank you. As always, I'm always fascinated. You're just a wealth of so many different topics, and all of them lead back to how do we make ourselves better humans, and as women, how do we transition through midlife? You've given us so much information and resources. I am so appreciative that you came on, and everybody go search out Kate, contact me. We'll put her stuff out there. She is an amazing human being to talk to. And anything else that you want to add before we go?
I just want to say huge gratitude, Kelly. I have so much respect. I go on so many vegan podcasts, and that is my heart. I have mad respect when a show whose audience isn't primarily vegan or plant-based, when they let me come on and speak honestly to my heart. I just have mad respect because we need more of these open, kind, respectful conversations, and you're really good at it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I know it's still, again, Kate came on at 5 a.m. in the morning to talk to us. So I hope you enjoy your day. And again, the next topic that you and I can dream up, I would love for you to come on and talk about. But thank you so much. Tune in to the KellFire Show, subscribe, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Apple. Kate's got a podcast, again, like 800 and something episodes. Go listen to Kate, in-depth stuff, really good. She's an expert in her field. And thank you again, Kate.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to tell you guys about our supplement line. If you haven't already heard, I put a lot of time and effort into sourcing out what I think are the most important things for women's health in this transition in our lives. And we have Dr. KellFire's potions and elixirs. What we have first is a vegan vanilla protein powder. We also have, this is one of my favorites. It's prebiotic and probiotic. It's a greens powder. So you get your greens, you get your fruits, but you do really attack that gut health and balance that out. So I'm a big fan of Thrive. We also have apple cider gummies. If you've ever had apple cider vinegar, you know how harsh that is to take. So we have our gummies, and they are apple flavored, and they're really good. Supports metabolism. We have the lovely collagen and biotin combo in liquid, so it's awesome. You can put it in your drinks, you can put it in your teas, you can just shoot it in your mouth. I love tinctures, but collagen biotin for hair and nails, because that is extremely important at this time in our lives. 8-in-1 mushrooms, illumination. I love this product. It's 8 different nootropic mushrooms that supports immunity, anxiety, mental state, awareness, focus. This is my favorite baby. And then I probably shouldn't have said that, because this one is my favorite baby. This one is bovine glandular. So this is derived from bovine uterus. This is for hormone balance and libido support. This is a staple, and I think it should be a staple in every woman's wellness kit. All of our supplements you can get on mytempesta.com. Just hit the shop link and everything there. You can get it one time. You could sign up for a subscription with discounts, and they'll just come to your door. It will spark your wellness journey and ignite your fire.